Okay, so today I want to go over why you're not making gains in the gym. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is what I would probably say is the most common reason that people aren't making gains in the gym. And it's because you're not progressively overloading. So, progressive overload, summarized quickly, is basically just making sure you're always doing more than last time. You're just doing more, basically. So there is a couple of different ways you can progressively overload. So the four ways are: you can do more weight, you can do more reps, you can do more sets, and you can have better form. So I'm going to explain all of those, how you do them. And yeah, so first one I said was weight. So what extra? Let's pick a bench press because it's a pretty simple exercise to explain for this. So if you are doing a bench press, let's say you are currently, we'll say you're doing 2 sets of 8 reps of, we'll just say 185 pounds, right? We're just gonna use that as our standard. So if you're able to do 2 sets, 8 reps, 185 pounds, the way you'd progressively overload with the weight would be you'd move up to, let's say, 195 pounds. You'd add some weight. And odds are, if you were doing 2 sets of 8 reps for 185 pounds, when you go up to 195, you'd probably be doing, if you stick with those 2 sets, you'd probably be able to get like 6 reps. So then what you would do is you'd keep increasing the weight every time you hit a certain number. So for me, I like to work in the I'd probably say the 7 to 10 or 11 rep range. That's where I like to work. So you increase the weight every time you get to those 10 or 11 reps, depending on the exercise for me and how comfortable I feel moving up. So weight, I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. When you hit the top point, you feel ready with good form to be doing more. You can increase the weight, you do that, and that is progressively overload. So if you are not ready to do the weight, maybe you just up the weight, right? So the first thing would be what I just kind of mentioned. You're going to do reps. I said that I like to work in the 7 to let's just say 11 rep range. So what that means is every time I go in the gym, my goal is to do one more rep. Now, sometimes as a beginner lifter, I'd say for the first probably year and a half, it's going to be relatively easy to just show up and every time do one more rep. But once you become more of an advanced lifter, that's not really realistic to just do more reps every single time you show up. So sometimes that's going to be doing even a half rep more. So maybe you go from 8 reps to 8.5 reps and then you fail and whatever, but you push. And then maybe the next time, the second time after that, then maybe it's 9 reps, right? So you just slowly increase the reps from there. So far I've gone over weight and reps, and those two, all of these are very synergistic. I can't say the word. They all go together. So you have to decide and figure out which one makes the most logical sense for you to do every time you're in the gym, because you kind of do all of them together. So I said weights, I said reps. The next one would be form. So this one is a lot of times when you up the weight, let's go back to the example of bench, right? Of 2 sets of 8 reps of 185 pounds, right? You might be able to go up to do 2 sets of 8 reps of 205 pounds, but with bad form. So when you move up, sometimes you'll be able to do, let's say, those 8 reps of 205 pounds, but what you might want to do rather is cut the reps down a little bit and focus on having good form for every rep and then start increasing the reps again. So maybe you'll go to do 2 sets of 6 reps for 205 pounds and then increase, and then the next time you get that form perfect, then go to 7 and then slowly increase the sets and then the weight, or the reps, then the weight, and go from there. Now, there are certain exercises, I'm trying to think of a good example. This would be a good example of it. For incline bench curls, where it can be very difficult to increase the reps or the weight, session to session. I've noticed, at least, because when you're lifting lighter weights for an exercise, think of it when you're increasing the weight, not as a number, not as oh, you're only increasing it by 5 pounds. Don't think of it like that. Think of it as like a percentage, right? So like, let's say you are curling 25 pounds, right? And you want to move up to 30. That's a very big difference compared to if you're doing like a lat pull down of like 200 pounds and you're increasing 5 pounds. Let's do the math on it, right? Like if you increase a lat pull down from 200 to 205 pounds, that would be 2.5% more weight. Like that's a very small amount. But if you go from 25 to 30 pounds on a curl, that's adding, what would that be, like 20% more weight? Like that's a massive discrepancy. So for exercises like an incline bench curl, like I just mentioned, where you're not using as much weight, so it might be harder to just increase a rep or a set each time. We just said weight's gonna be hard. So what you're gonna wanna do is actually maybe just add like a third or a fourth set and start doing, rather than doing 2 sets of 10, why don't you try and do 2 sets of 10 and then like a third set of like, however, if you can get to 10, go for it. But like maybe you can only get to 8 or 9. And then working it to 3 sets of 10. And then when you can do 3 sets of 10, maybe that's when you bump it up and start doing 2 sets of 8, but with like a higher weight or something. So these are all 4 of these are like great ways to progressively overload, but you have to know and figure out over time, like you're probably going to pick the wrong one. And like, I feel like all the time I like increase the weight and then have to jump back down because I realized like, no, that wasn't really the right move. I should work on this or work on that more, work on the form or get more reps or whatever, right? So you kind of have to work through and figure out which one is best. But every time you're in the gym, you should be having, every set you do, one of these should be what you're trying to go for. You should be trying to, every time you hit a set, you should either be trying to go for more weight than last time, more reps than last time, another set overall for the exercise, or have better form than last time. And if you just do that every time, you will make gains in the gym. And as I said, I think this is one of the biggest things a lot of people struggle with, is like just kind of repetitively doing the same weight, not like really pushing themselves. So I will say, one, obviously form, there's no really way to track that. That's just how you feel. But for sets, reps, or weight, there's a couple ways you can track that. I used to literally just type it out in my notes app. If you go to like more serious gyms, like I go to a bodybuilding gym, you'll see people walking around with notebooks and like writing everything down. So you can write it down that way to track if you're increasing the weight, sets, or reps. As I said, I used to do it on my notes app. Like I literally just type the name of the exercise, and then I'd type the weight, and then I do 2, or like the number of sets, X, the number of reps, and then just track it from there. So I always saw what I did last time, then I would update it for what I did the new time. So there's that as well. Or there's also a bunch of apps out there. Like right now, I'm not obviously affiliated with them or anything, but I use this app called Heavy, and I've really enjoyed it because part of it is like truly just like going on your reward system in your brain. Like I get like a gold medal every time I hit a PR, whether that be sets, reps, or weight. So it just like floods you with dopamine for seeing that you've like done something new. So I've been using that app for a couple of months now and really enjoyed it. So that is how you progressively overload, and that is probably the biggest mistake you're making in the gym. So with that being said, start doing these. Make sure you're always progressively overloading for your sets in the gym. And I hope you enjoyed. I hope you start doing this. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you next Sunday at 5 p.m. Get you there.